Hi everyone, this is Stan, your favorite Polish Taiwan YouTuber. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to today's show. Today we're going to talk about China's new map claiming the territories of multiple neighboring countries. If you remember, a few months ago, Lu Shaye, who is the former ambassador of China to France, made a sensational statement during an interview with French media. He said, according to the international law, the former Soviet countries are not real sovereign states because there is no international agreement that clearly defines their sovereign status. Wow, that single sentence managed to offend all of Europe. Only the Chinese Communist Party could achieve that. And recently it seems like the CCP is feeling restless again, probably because their last attempt to stir up anti-Japanese sentiment backfired, and they're facing internal pressure. So they cannot stop their embarrassing spree. This time they offended several Asian countries at once, including India, the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Brunei and Nepal. Last time they offended the entirety of Europe, and right now they offended the entirety of Asia. China's Ministry of Natural Resources had just released the 2023 edition of their so-called Standard Map of China. I think most of you are aware of this map by now. Apart from China's actual territory, they have also included the land they wish to occupy, and it seems like drawing imaginary lines all over the world is one of Xi Jinping's favorite pastimes. These imaginary lines include Arunachal Pradesh, which belongs to India, the Doklam Plateau, and the disputed region of Aksai Chin in the western part of the China-India border. In the Philippines, they encompass Tito Island, referred to as Zhongye Island by China, as well as Ayungin Shoal, referred to as Ranai by China. Furthermore, they extended to Malaysia's exclusive economic zone EEZ of the coast of Borneo, Sabah, and Sarawak, Japan's Senkaku Islands, and all of Taiwan. So you see, various neighboring lands and waters are included in the Chinese Communist Party's expansionist blueprint. Yeah, and this is the notorious 9-line map of China. It is the territorial claim made by the Chinese government in the South China Sea region. The latest version of the map expands the boundaries even further than before. Essentially, it's no longer just a map, it is a blueprint for aggression. In this new version of the expansionist blueprint, they have added a 10th dash in the line, bringing the territory closer to China's map from 1948. And of course, the dashed lines also include Taiwan, which they have consistently aimed to annex. And what's interesting is that shortly before the map was released, Xi Jinping had just attended the BRICS summit held in South Africa, where he met with Indian Prime Minister Modi. However, for reasons unknown, the Chinese Communist Party suddenly launched this provocation with new maps that challenge India, South China Sea nations, Taiwan and Japan. Interestingly, China is also set to participate in the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC meeting in San Francisco in November. So the international community finds it puzzling that China chose this particular time to release an expanded version of its maps. Some experts like Dr. Yuan Jindong, an associate professor in the Department of Government and International Relations at the University of Sydney, believes that this episode reflects a lack of effective coordination between different Chinese government agencies, where both sides fail to understand each other and reach a consensus to avoid harming national interests. The new map has indeed led to protests from several neighboring countries, which surely doesn't align with China's interests. As Associate Professor Chen Jie from University of Western Australia School of Social Sciences, International Relations, Asian Studies and Politics points out, whether it's the 9-line or 10-line, it's not really the news. In fact, the disputed areas of the new map have always been depicted as part of People's Republic of China's territory, but they cannot change the actual territorial situation. Considering the viewpoints mentioned above, I'd like to emphasize another point that might be interesting. We should differentiate between the interests of the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, and the interests of China as a whole. The presentation of the new map primarily serves internal political purposes within the CCP. It is used to bolster the legitimacy of the CCP's regime amongst the Chinese citizens and to construct a geographical framework for the little pink nationalists. The CCP itself has never been concerned about how other countries perceive it. Of course, the CCP's interests often conflict with the interests of the Chinese people. Therefore, Therefore, it is not contradictory for the CCP to publicly release this map at this time. The Chinese Communist Party continues to utilize the 9-dash line to reinforce a sense of domestic nationalism. This is a long-term strategy aimed at gradually escalating populist sentiments and preparing the Chinese people for the idea of a blueprint for aggression where they might have to make sacrifices. The advocacy of the 9-dash line can be seen as the Chinese government repeatedly reinforcing an impression of territorial maps amongst its citizens, using the notion that many Chinese territories are still occupied by other countries to incite nationalist sentiments. And this is done as a preparation to be used at any time to redirect internal conflicts or dissatisfaction. When internal conflicts arise and large-scale public unrest occurs, any CCP's claims of victory in territorial disputes can be used to quell the dissatisfaction among certain little pink nationalists and legitimize the suppression of opponents questioning the CCP's rule. Ultimately, this strategy aims to maintain stability within China and repeatedly emphasizes the necessity of the CCP's governance over China. Given the Chinese Communist Party's long-standing history of territorial aggression against neighboring countries, it's quite evident that the CCP doesn't really care about how other nations perceive it. The lack of compliance with international arbitration rulings, for instance, makes it abundantly clear that they don't genuinely care about the opinions of other countries. They have never taken sincere measures or shown goodwill to resolve disputes with neighboring nations. Essentially, the CCP's territorial claims in the South China Sea have consistently aimed to raise concerns in the international community and evoke displeasure from neighboring countries. Over the years, it seems that the CCP's regime has never genuinely attempted to reach peaceful agreements with other nations. On the contrary, the international community has appeared overly tolerant and appeasing towards the CCP's bullying behavior. This regime appears to have no concept of adhering to the rule of law. On the contrary, it is the use of military expansion that has consistently been the signal that the Chinese Communist Party projects to the world. The CCP continuously strengthens its military presence in disputed regions, militarizes islands and reefs, and employs military threats against other countries' ships and aircraft. It is evident that the CCP simply aims to showcase its military might to the international community and has no genuine intention of peaceful coexistence with other nations. What surprises me more is that over the years the international community and experts in international relations have seemingly been unwilling to confront this reality. Since 2016, when the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruled against certain Chinese territorial claims in the South China Sea, the CCP's regime has refused to accept the verdict and has continued various military activities in the region. It is crucial to address the potential for regional conflicts in the future rather than evade the present reality. The actions and attitudes of the Chinese government unmistakably demonstrate that they don't really care much about how other countries perceive them, but are more concerned about internal political objectives and domestic stability. This has brought uncertainty and risks to both the international community and the stability of the South China Sea region. So you see that the CCP is acting more and more arrogantly, and that's why the whole world should start paying attention to China's aggression and expansionism. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please press like, subscribe and share. This is Stan. I see you in the next one. Bye bye!